In an MMA fight, I'd have destroyed Carl. You know that. You know that, Carl.
This is Danny Gaffilm for Pro Boxing Fans. We're in La Bonne Entente in Quebec City. It's a pleasure to have with me for the first time this week, Gareth A Davies. First time ever, correct. It's lovely to meet you for a start, Gareth.
You too, and I really like your writing. And as I said to you all along, keep writing. I know everyone digests video, but keep writing because you're a fine writer.
Appreciate that, Gareth.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much. Bigger news than my writing skills, though, is the unified light heavyweight world title fight this weekend between Artur Beterbiev and Callum Smith. Just initially, your thoughts on the fight. It feels as if quite a lot of people are picking Callum, certainly on our side of the pond. The narrative is that Beterbiev's maybe seen better days. Callum obviously a very big puncher, even more so it seems, up at 175. How do you see the fight?
Well, congratulations first of all on being sent on this assignment ahead of Jonathan.
You'll hate that. It's definitely not ahead of Jonathan.
Hate it. He was obviously on holiday or whatever, but he'll appreciate that. Fantastic fight. What a way to begin the year. 2024 looks amazing. Obviously, we know about the Saudi Arabians creating with Queensberry and Frank Warren, and in kind of cooperation with Bob Arum and Eddie Hearn, a super league for heavyweight boxing, and all the other managers and promoters involved. But what a fight this is. Callum Smith has only ever had trouble against Canelo. I mean, you look at what the family's done for a start. Paul Smith against Andre Ward, Callum and Liam against Canelo. I mean, what the hell? Even Stephen, who doesn't get enough credit, Commonwealth Games gold medalist. They're an amazing family. It's an amazing fight because the styles make for, I think, a feeling out process early in the fight, but this fight is going to deliver. And you cannot predict how the fight will go and end. We know that Callum's got an amazing left hook, great jab, heavy right hand, good on the inside for a 6'5" guy, great levers on the inside. But Beterbiev's got this turbocharged kind of accelerator in his boxing. I don't know anyone else in the world that does it right now, where he suddenly accelerates with 7 or 8 punch threshing combinations from nowhere, and he's dangerous when he's hurt. It's an incredible fight. 19-0, 19 knockouts, 29-1. As I say, the one is Canelo, de Jalisco, Guadalajara, Mexico. And Callum was kind of a little bit beaten up in that fight, but never really, really hurt. Beterbiev's been down against Callum Johnson early and then got up to stop him. Oh my God, we are going to be sitting on the very edges of our seats on Saturday night. And if you're watching at home, it's on Sky Box Office. It's going to be an incredible fight. I feel delighted and honoured to be here. I'm doing little interviews for Top Rank as their reporter.
Check out Gareth's interviews with Top Rank.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah. But it's a pleasure to be here. A big fan of Maloney, by the way, as well. Great guy. Great. I didn't really know him till this week, but he's a great guy. He's got a great team, typical Aussies, hard as nails. It's just a real pleasure to start the year. We're a week and a half into the year, and we're potentially, if this fight goes 12 rounds, we could be watching the fight of the year. They're both elite level fighters. It's just incredible. I'm edging towards Beterbiev, but Smith could pull off a great slight upset, which would rank with Tyson Fury, Klitschko, Lloyd Hannigan, Don Curry, Cal Brook, Sean Porter, some of those major fights that have happened abroad. The Brits have brought home the glory.
I mean, if the viewers weren't excited before, I'm sure they are now, Gareth. Echo everything you said.
There's even time when this interview goes out, Jonathan, if you're watching as well at home, eat your heart out, yeah, because the man's doing the business out here. There's still time to get on a flight and get here. 10,000 fans going to the Centre Videotron, which is an amazing arena, isn't it? It's beautiful. We were over there earlier today. 2 guys there facing off. Press conference. They don't talk much, do they? It's all with their hands and feet on the night. They don't talk the talk. They just walk it. So, like you say, it's just thrilling.
And there has been an extra layer of controversy thrown in this week. I know. I think
You're the first person to ask me about this.
Your reaction is probably the reaction of everyone who saw the news. It was news that Beterbiev had returned an atypical finding in a VADA test, we believe, around the start of December. Now, it's important to stress for everyone's sake that this was not a failed test. This isn't an adverse finding. This was a raised level of human growth hormone, I believe, and another compound that can be often generated from anabolic steroids. Subsequent testing was found out, and Artur was cleared to box, obviously, hence why the fight's going ahead. What, from your perspective, Gareth, do you make of all this? I mean, Team Smith have been accused of bringing this up solely to disrupt Artur, which you could argue all's fair in love and war. What's your view on it all?
Well, it's the grey of grey areas, isn't it? I mean, you get positive tests, you get negative tests, and you get atypical tests, which are this weird anomaly in the middle where there's picograms that I have to choose my words here because they've been very strong, have Eye of the Tiger, his promoters, in saying, please do not be litigious and slanderous. He hasn't failed a drug test, and that's what I want to iterate. And Artur is 39. I mean, I know Artur fairly well. I've done a few interviews with him now. He's 39 on January the 21st, I think. He's been in the sport a very long time, amateur and pro. There's never been a whiff of anything around him that's suspicious. I think there's probably a few mind games gone on from Eddie Hearn and Callum Smith's team. They're probably unhappy about it. They won't want to focus on it too much. From what I've heard from Callum, it's not something he particularly wants to focus on. But I think the best quote I've heard from Eddie today when he spoke about it at length at the press conference in a huddle was, we need clarification on the process of testing over when something like this arises, how that further investigation is dealt with. Because what you want is carte blanche for the fight to go ahead without any suspicion or any doubt. And I think it's good it's out there, but he hasn't failed a test. And he did all the tests afterwards and they were negative. And I'm not a sports science expert. A lot of us aren't. And as I say, it's a grey area, but it becomes greyer when it's atypical. It's these minute picograms which just... The testers, VADA in this instance, are saying there are signs here that we need to investigate further. They further tested him twice, I think, and they came up negative, so the fight goes ahead. That's my take on it. I don't have I'm glad we're here. I mean, how awful would it have been to have got here yesterday and or you got here the day before yesterday and suddenly the fight is off. I know, and so at the same time, let's repeat, it's an inherently dangerous sport. We need a testing system. The process again needs to be unilateral across the entire sport, in every country, globally, so that there is clarification and transparency on what this process is.
Well, myself and Gareth have both emphasised Artur Beterbiev has not failed a drugs test, so no one come looking for any money or litigation at our door. Gareth...
I haven't said anything litigious. 100%. It's been flagged by VADA, no one else. And it's out there and open and transparent, and that's where we are with it.
As great a fight as we have on Saturday night, there's a few other topics I'd like to get your thoughts on, Gareth, whilst I've got you. Where else to start? Anthony Joshua, Francis Ngannou. You're a man which is almost something that's demonised these days. You actually like boxing and MMA. I mean, novel idea. This fight seems to have divided opinion.
You purist, you.
No, I like MMA as well. This fight has divided opinion. There are people who see Francis Ngannou as a legitimate test for Anthony Joshua based on what he did against Tyson Fury. We all saw that. And there's others, Carl Froch to name but one, who see this as a cash grab, an easy touch for AJ, a chance to make a lot of money before going into a real fight in the summer. Which way do you view it, of those two viewpoints?
Look, if Carl was still boxing, he would have taken these fights in a heartbeat. I mean, I'm a huge fan of as the clock chimes for 9 p.m. here. Listen, I love Carl. In an MMA fight, I'd have destroyed Carl. You know that. You know that, Carl. No, I can't even say that. Carl's a legend, a modern British boxing legend, and I love him to death, and he knows it. I might disagree with him sometimes, but I think I never ever called, and I called people out who were saying Ngannou Fury was an exhibition. Have to take a guy who's 6'5", 20 stone, and is a striker in MMA. You know more about MMA than a lot of people that do these interviews. Ngannou isn't a ground guy. He's a guy that kicks and punches and elbows. An amazing story out of Africa. And I always said he needed to be taken seriously for at least 10 minutes against Fury. And I think in this fight, Joshua has to go out and dominate. Ngannou's a player in the heavyweight division now. Would you not see him in against Arslan Makhmudov? Would you not want to see him in against Deontay Wilder? Would you not want to see him in against Usyk? I mean, come on, what's Usyk going to do against him? I mean, Ngannou is an amazing character. He's taken his chance. I like a bit of crossover stuff. I think it generates interest. It brings the combat sports world together. And if Joshua doesn't impose himself, and I will repeat, his performance against Otto Wallin was amazing. Technically perfect for 15 minutes. Chopped the tree down, made the tree into logs, if you like, in a pile, on its stool in the corner. And I think Joshua's got to go out there. If he doesn't impose himself against Ngannou and doesn't make indents into him, doesn't make him respect his power, it's going to be a very tough 30-minute, 10-round fight. So I'm really looking forward to it.
We'll stick with the topic of Anthony Joshua. As you touched on there, a very impressive performance against Ola Wallin. A lot of people saying it was AJ's most impressive performance since Alexander Povetkin, since well before Andy Ruiz. It's just crazy, I think, how the narrative around these heavyweights can change in such a short period of time. I mean, people were writing Anthony Joshua off. Very few people, I think, would have picked him in a potential fight against Tyson Fury, and now, coupled with Tyson's performance against Francis Ngannou, you're seeing a lot more people give AJ a chance if that fight was to get made. Has your perception of that fight changed based on the recent performances for the two of them?
Yeah, I mean, look, people say one punch changes a heavyweight fight. One single punch can change a heavyweight fight, but one performance, especially with the likes of Anthony Joshua, can change the perception. But we all know that he had a very tough 2 years against Alexander Usyk. He was better in the second fight. For me, he was ahead after 9 rounds, 5-4. But he just couldn't find that game management for the last 3 or 4 rounds. Against, exactly. Usyk was waspish, and he used his skills. He outmanaged him in that fight. It was a great fight. I completely understood Joshua's frustration. I went to Joshua on the stage after the Otto Wallin press conference in Saudi and said, honestly, I've got to say, hand on heart, the best aggressive technical performance, like you say, maybe since Povetkin, maybe ever. Because he was on point, and I love the Ben Davison connection. I think they're absolutely right for each other. Ben's big problem is if Fury wins 2 fights now or hasn't been beaten by the end of the year, and Joshua's won his next couple of fights, his problem is, does he train Joshua to fight Fury? Can he do it? Can he do it emotionally? You know, Ben and I are very good friends, and I really respect his knowledge and his ability to imbue his fighters with a real sense of self-belief and technical proficiency in the ring. He's very believable, Ben, and very wise old head on young shoulders. Joshua, we know that he's got... But the weird thing is, in this day and age where the prism of social media kind of analyses and slices everything apart, we weren't wrong in saying, where's the mindset of Joshua, where it's at? And we know it's in a great place right now. And if he carries that mindset into the Ngannou fight and he looks good against Ngannou, the comparisons will be made with Fury again. The great thing, as I said to Eddie Hearn on the way over here to Quebec, was we got this guy as a player again. He's number 3 in the division right now. Parker's 4, Zhang's 5, or Zhang's 4, Parker's 5, Wilder's 6, and then the rest trail. Fury 1 for me, Usyk 2, Joshua 3. We've got a great division going on. We've got a Super League of heavyweights going on. We've got the Saudis willing to put on 4 main events, 5 main events on every card. Come on, let's celebrate where we're at. You'll look back in 2 years' time as a young man and go, I'm so glad I was involved in this era of heavyweight boxing, because it harks back to the time of Lennox Lewis and Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson and Riddick Bowe and these guys. This is the era right now, and we're in it.
Very last one, Gareth, because I've took up enough of your time. You touched on, maybe not to be disrespectful, the second tier of heavyweights. Your Zhilei Zhangs, your Joseph Parkers,
Well, I
etc.
think he's in the top 5, Zhang.
Yeah, I would agree.
Parker 4-5.
What are some of the matchups you would like to see? These Saudi cards are heavyweight dominated. We saw Martin Bakole, Parker, as we mentioned, Ajit Kabayel, all.
Daniel Dubois.
Dubois, of course. What are some of the matchups you'd like to see?
What would I like to see? I think I'd like to see Dubois and Joyce again. Yeah. Dubois and Kabayel. Makhmudov and Frank Sanchez. Makhmudov and Miller. I'm not against Deontay Wilder and Zhilei Zhang. I think that's a very tough ask of Deontay Wilder after what's just happened. Joe Joyce and Joseph Parker again. Joseph Parker and Alexander Usyk at some point I'd like to see. Have I missed any out there?
Yeah,
Joshua and Parker again. Joshua and Usyk again. With Joshua under Ben Davison.
Ben says he fancies that job.
I spoke to him about that as well. Yeah, I get it. I do get it. He was a whisker away. You know, if you know your boxing, you know that game management won Usyk that second fight. And I love Alexander Usyk. He's an amazing character. We're very blessed at the moment. And you mentioned Bakole as well. Dark horse for everyone.
Well, Gareth, it's getting late. We've all got things we'd rather.
9:10.
It's late for the working day.
But it's 2 a.m. if you've been on the tequila.
Gareth, thanks so much for your time and pleasure. Speak to you soon.
Always, my brother.
Top man,
Absolute
Gareth.
pleasure.